From fear frequency to success frequency, the success frequency channeled 25,000 character story. Let me ask you something that will stop you in your tracks. Do you ever feel like fear is secretly calling the shots in your life? That maybe, just maybe, the reason you're not where you want to be isn't because you're not capable, but because fear has been standing between you and everything you've ever dreamed of? Tonight, I'm going to share with you a discovery that will change everything you think you know about fear. Because what if I told you that fear isn't some permanent part of you? What if you could actually eliminate it from your mind completely and for good? It might sound impossible, but the truth is, it's far simpler than we've been led to believe. And here's the most exciting part. You already have everything inside you to make that happen. But first, let me take you to a moment in 1879 that changed the trajectory of human courage forever. The laboratory of fear. Thomas Edison stood in his Menlo Park laboratory, staring at what appeared to be his 9,999th failed attempt at creating a working light bulb. The filament had burned out again. The investors were losing faith. The newspapers were calling him a fraud. His assistant looked at him with defeat in his eyes and said, "Mr. Edison, we've failed 9,999 times. Maybe it's time to admit this is impossible." Edison turned to him with a fire in his eyes that would reshape the world and said, "Failed? We haven't failed once. We've successfully discovered 9,999 ways that don't work. We're not 9,999 failures away from success. We're one step away from it." In that moment, Edison revealed the secret that separates those who live on the fear frequency from those who operate on the success frequency. He understood something that most people never grasp. Fear and success cannot coexist on the same frequency. You see, fear operates on a very specific frequency, the frequency of scarcity, limitation, and impossibility. Success operates on an entirely different frequency, the frequency of abundance, possibility, and inevitability. The question isn't whether you'll face fear, the question is which frequency will you choose to tune into. Understanding the fear frequency, Napoleon Hill spent 20 years studying the most successful people in history, and he discovered something remarkable. Every single person he studied had faced the same fears you're facing right now. The difference wasn't that they were fearless, the difference was that they had learned to change their frequency. Fear operates on what scientists now call the stress frequency, a low vibrational state that literally changes the chemistry of your brain. When you're operating on the fear frequency, your brain releases cortisol and adrenaline, chemicals that put you in survival mode. In survival mode, your brain's primary function is to keep you safe, which means it looks for threats, problems, and reasons why things won't work. This is why when you're afraid, you can't think clearly. This is why when you're worried, you can't see opportunities. This is why when you're stressed, everything seems harder than it actually is. The fear frequency broadcasts thoughts like, "I'm not smart enough. This is too risky. I don't have what it takes." But here's the breakthrough that changed everything for Edison and can change everything for you. Fear is just a frequency, and frequencies can be changed. The science of frequency transformation. Joe Dispenza's groundbreaking research has proven what Napoleon Hill intuited a century ago. Your thoughts create your reality by changing the frequency your brain operates on. When you think fearful thoughts repeatedly, you literally rewire your brain to see more things to be afraid of. But when you consciously choose thoughts of success, possibility, and abundance, you rewire your brain to operate on the success frequency, a high vibrational state where you see opportunities instead, and obstacles, solutions instead of problems, possibilities instead of limitation. This isn't just positive thinking. This is neuroplasticity in action. Your brain physically changes based on the frequencies you choose to tune into most often. Henry Ford understood this principle intuitively. When every expert told him that mass-producing automobiles was impossible, Ford didn't argue with them. He simply tuned into a different frequency. While others were broadcasting on the impossible frequency, Ford was receiving signals from the "how can we make this work" frequency. And because he maintained that frequency consistently, his brain began to generate solutions that others couldn't see. The Edison protocol, fear to success frequency. Let me share with you the exact protocol that Edison used and that every successful person throughout history has used to transform from fear frequency to success frequency. Step 1, the frequency interrupt. The moment you notice fear arising, instead of trying to fight it or ignore it, simply say to yourself, "I'm currently tuned to the fear frequency. What frequency do I choose instead?" This simple acknowledgement interrupts the fear pattern and gives you conscious choice over your mental frequency. Edison would literally stop what he was doing when fear crept in and ask himself, "Am I thinking like an inventor right now, or like someone who's afraid of failure. Step 2, the frequency replacement. You cannot simply stop thinking fearful thoughts. You must replace them with success frequency thoughts. Edison had a specific protocol for this. Instead of "what if this doesn't work," he would ask, "what if this is exactly what the world needs?" Instead of "I might fail," he would think, "I'm learning what success looks like." Instead of "this is taking too long," he would affirm, "every moment is bringing me closer to the breakthrough." Step 3, the frequency lock-in. This is the step most people miss, and it's the most crucial. Once you've chosen your success frequency thought, you must feel the emotion of that thought. Edison would literally experience the excitement of success before he achieved it. He would feel the satisfaction of seeing his light bulb illuminate a room. He would experience the joy of knowing he had brought light to the world. He would feel the pride of overcoming what others called impossible. This emotional component is what locks in the new frequency. Thoughts change your neural pathways, but emotions change your body's chemistry. When you combine success frequency thoughts with success frequency emotions, you literally transform your entire system. The Tesla transformation, courage over comfort. Nikola Tesla took this principle even further. While Edison was creating physical inventions, Tesla was creating something even more revolutionary. He was proving that the human mind could operate on frequencies that seemed supernatural. Tesla would visualize his inventions so clearly that he could test them, improve them, and perfect them entirely in his mind before ever building a physical prototype. He was operating on what we now call the creation frequency, a state where imagination becomes so real that it begins to manifest in physical reality. But Tesla's greatest discovery wasn't about electricity. It was about. He realized that fear is nothing more than a misalignment between your current frequency and your desired frequency. When you're afraid of public speaking, you're operating on the judgment frequency instead of the value delivery frequency. When you're afraid of starting a business, you're tuned into the failure frequency instead of the service frequency. When you're afraid of asking for what you want, you're broadcasting on the rejection frequency instead of the worthy receiver frequency. Tesla's protocol was simple but profound. Instead of trying to eliminate fear, tune into the frequency of what you want to create, the Carnegie Code, from scarcity to abundance frequency. Andrew Carnegie understood that most people live their entire lives tuned to the scarcity frequency. Always worried about not having enough, always focused on what they lack, always operating from a mindset of limitation. Carnegie realized that wealth doesn't come from working harder on the scarcity frequency. Wealth comes from tuning into the abundance frequency, a state where you see opportunities everywhere, where you believe there's enough for everyone, where you operate from a mindset of unlimited possibility. But Carnegie discovered something even more important. You cannot tune into the abundance frequency while you're still broadcasting scarcity thoughts. The frequencies are incompatible. This is why affirmations often fail. People try to affirm abundance while their deeper thoughts are still broadcasting scarcity. It's like trying to receive classical music while your radio is tuned to heavy metal. The signal gets mixed, and you get neither. Carnegie's breakthrough was what he called frequency integrity, aligning every level of your thinking with the frequency you want to operate on. Level 1, surface thoughts, what you consciously think about during the day. Level 2, deep beliefs, what you unconsciously believe to be true of yourself and the world. Level 3, emotional frequency, how you feel most of the time. Level 4, action frequency, what you actually do with your time and energy. Carnegie realized that true frequency transformation requires alignment at all 4 levels. This is why he spent the first hour of every morning doing what he called frequency calibration. He would consciously choose his surface thoughts for the day. He would examine and, when necessary, challenge his deep belief. He would deliberately generate the emotional frequency of someone who already had everything he desired. He would plan actions that were aligned with his desired frequency, not his current circumstances. The Roosevelt revelation, courage as a frequency. Franklin Roosevelt faced the greatest economic crisis in American history, and he understood that fear was contagious. The entire country was operating on the fear frequency, and this collective fear was making the situation worse. Roosevelt's famous words, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself," weren't just inspiring rhetoric. They were a precise description of how frequency works. Fear doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around. And when enough people operate on the fear frequency simultaneously, it creates what Roosevelt called a crisis of confidence. But Roosevelt also understood the flip side. Courage is equally contagious. When you consistently operate on the courage frequency, you don't just change your own life. you give others permission to change their frequency too. Roosevelt developed what historians now recognize as the most successful fear elimination protocol in modern history. The Roosevelt method, name the fear, instead of avoiding fearful thoughts, he would clearly articulate what people were afraid of. You're afraid of losing your job. You're afraid of not having enough food. You're afraid of losing your home. Separate fear from facts. He would distinguish between the actual situation and the fear about the situation. Yes, we're facing challenges. No, that doesn't mean we're powerless. Focus on response, not circumstances. Instead of trying to change external circumstances first, he focused on changing the internal response. We cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond to what happens to us. Take frequency-aligned action. Every action was designed to move the country from fear frequency to hope frequency, not through denial, but through demonstrated competence and unwavering belief in America's ability to overcome challenges. The result? In his first 100 days, Roosevelt literally changed the frequency of an entire nation. The Disney Discovery, imagination, as a frequency. Walt Disney faced a unique challenge. How do you create something that has never existed before? How do you build Disneyland when no one believes it's possible? How do you animate a mouse and make millions of people fall in love with it? Disney's breakthrough was understanding that imagination isn't just creativity. Imagination is a frequency. And when you learn to operate consistently on the imagination frequency, you can literally bring into reality things that have never existed before. But Disney discovered that most people's imagination is contaminated by fear. They try to imagine their dreams, but fear keeps interrupting with thoughts like, that's impossible, that's never been done, or who are you to think you can do that? Disney developed what his team called the 3 rooms method. Room 1, the dream room. In this room, anything was possible. No limitations, no budget constraints, no practical considerations. Just pure imagination. Disney would spend hours in this frequency, allowing his mind to create without any interference from fear or limitation. Room 2, the reality room. In this room, Disney would take the dreams from room 1 and ask, how can we make this work? Not can we make this work, but how can we make this work? This question kept him on the solution frequency rather than the problem frequency. Room 3, the critic room. Only after fully developing the dream and the plan would Disney allow critical thinking. But even then, the criticism was constructive. How can we make this even better, rather than why this won't work? Disney understood that most people make the mistake of mixing these frequencies. They try to dream while simultaneously being critical. They try to plan while simultaneously being unrealistic. This creates what Disney called frequency confusion, a state where you're broadcasting multiple incompatible signals at once. The Buffett blueprint. Patience as a frequency. Warren Buffett discovered that most investors fail not because they don't know what to do, but because they operate on the immediate results frequency rather than the long-term value frequency. The immediate results frequency is driven by fear, fear of missing out, fear of being wrong, fear of waiting too long. This frequency causes people to make impulsive decisions based on short-term market fluctuations rather than long-term value. Buffett learned to operate on the patience frequency, a state where you're completely comfortable waiting for the right opportunity, where you understand that the best investments often take years to mature, where you're not driven by the urgency of immediate gratification. But Buffett's most important discovery was that patience isn't just a strategy. Patience is a frequency that attracts opportunities. When you operate on the patience frequency, you see opportunities that impatient people miss. You have the clarity to recognize value when others are distracted by volatility. Buffett's daily protocol for maintaining the patience frequency, morning reading ritual. Every morning he would read for hours, not to find immediate investment opportunities, but to understand long-term trends and develop deeper insight. Avoid frequency pollutants. He deliberately avoided financial news, social media, and other source of noise that would pull him into the immediate results frequency. If the answer was urgency, he would wait. Celebrate long-term thinking. Instead of celebrating quick wins, he would celebrate decisions that demonstrated long-term thinking, even if they didn't pay off immediately. The Jobs innovation, passion as a frequency. Steve Jobs understood that most people work from the obligation frequency, doing what they have to do rather than what they're passionate about. The obligation frequency creates work that feels like drudgery, products that lack inspiration, and lives that feel empty despite external success. Jobs discovered that when you operate from the passion frequency, work becomes play, challenges become adventures, and obstacles become opportunities for innovation. But Jobs' greatest insight was that passion isn't something you find, Passion is a frequency you tune into. You don't wait for passionate work to come to you. You bring passionate frequency to whatever work you're doing. The Jobs method for tuning into passion frequency: focus on impact, not tasks. Instead of thinking about what you're doing, think about who you're serving and how you're making their life better. Embrace the process. Instead of just focusing on results, find ways to fall in love with the process of creation itself. Raise your standards. Instead of asking, how can I get by? Ask, how can I make this insanely great? Jobs proved that when you consistently operate on the passion frequency, you don't just create products, you create experiences that transform people's lives. The Fear Elimination Protocol. Now let me share with you the complete protocol that combines all of these insights into a simple daily practice that will permanently shift you from fear frequency to success frequency. The 21-day frequency transformation. Morning calibration. Midday check-in, 2 minutes. Use the Edison protocol to take one action aligned with your chosen frequency. Evening integration, 3 minutes. Celebrate moments when you successfully maintained your chosen frequency. Set your frequency intention for tomorrow. The weekly deep dive. Every Sunday, spend 30 minutes asking yourself, what fears showed up this week? How did I handle them? What frequency do I want to strengthen next week? What specific practices will help me maintain that frequency? The compound effect of frequency change. Here's what most people don't understand about frequency transformation. The results compound exponentially. In the first week, you'll notice that you feel different, more confident, more optimistic, more energized. In the first month, you'll notice that you think differently. You see opportunities instead of obstacles, solutions instead of problems. In the first 3 months, you'll notice that you act differently. You take actions that you used to be afraid to take. You speak up when you used to stay silent. You pursue opportunities you used to avoid. In the first year, you'll notice that your results are completely different. Your income, your relationships, your health, your entire life experience will have transformed. But here's the most amazing part. Other people will notice the change in your frequency before you do. They'll start responding to you differently, treating you differently, offering you different opportunities, because frequency is contagious and people are naturally drawn to those operating on higher frequency. The ultimate frequency choice, and this brings us to the ultimate question: what frequency will you choose to operate on for the rest of your life? You can continue operating on the fear frequency, always worried about what might go wrong, always focused on what you lack, always playing it safe and wondering what if. Or you can make the decision right now to tune into the success frequency, always looking for what could go right, always focused on possibilities, always willing to take inspired action and asking, how can I make this work? The choice is yours. But understand this, not choosing is also a choice. If you don't consciously choose your frequency, your subconscious will choose based on your past programming, and for most people that means defaulting to fear. Edison didn't become one of history's greatest inventors by accident. He consciously chose, every single day, to operate on the frequency of possibility rather than limitation. Tesla didn't create revolutionary technologies by luck. He deliberately tuned into the frequency of imagination rather than conformity. Carnegie didn't build one of America's greatest fortunes by chance. He intentionally aligned with the frequency of abundance rather than scarcity. Roosevelt didn't lead America through its greatest challenges by coincidence. He purposefully embodied the frequency of courage rather than fear. And you have the same choice they had. You have the same opportunity they had. You have the same power they had. The only question is, will you use it? Your frequency transformation starts now. If you're ready to make this shift, if you're ready to stop letting fear call the shots in your life, if you're ready to tune into the frequency of success and never look back, then I need you to do something right now. Don't let this moment pass. Don't let this feeling fade. Don't let yourself slip back into the comfortable familiarity of fear. Take action immediately. Like this video if you're ready to change your frequency. Subscribe to this channel if you want daily reminders to stay tuned to success instead of fear. Comment below and tell us what fear are you ready to transform into fuel for your success. And most importantly, share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Because when you help another person change their frequency, you strengthen your own. Remember, fear and success cannot coexist on the same frequency. You cannot think fearful thoughts and expect successful results. You cannot worry about failure and create breakthrough achievements. You cannot operate on the frequency of limitation and experience unlimited possibility. But when you consciously, consistently, deliberately choose to operate on the success frequency, everything changes, your thoughts change, your feelings change, Your actions change, your results change, your entire life changes. The frequency you choose today becomes the reality you live tomorrow. Choose success. Choose possibility. Choose the frequency of everything you've ever dreamed of becoming. Your new frequency starts now. Tune in, turn up, transform.